Yo no te please. Golden boats and gentle breeze. Waves whispering, secrets in the air. Adventure calls, we're daring pale. Oh, legs appear, you breathe. Take us wherever you please. With the sun on our face. That's right, Catalina, 36. And yes, she's got a smile. Well, there. So it's not uncommon. It's with this particular one not too bad actually. The keel bolts are in excellent shape, but that is Catalina's issue. That famous Catalina Smile, as you can see here. Other than that, the keel is in tippy-toppy shape. She got a deep fin keel, almost 6 foot deep. There's a smile again. All throughout fittings are good. Prop shaft good. 3-blade bronze prop. Raw water intake. And a spade rudder. Unfortunately, no skeg. That's the way that is with Catalinas. Sloop rig. The underwater ship is in excellent shape. It's a freshwater boat. So here she has the sonar, the lock, toilet, raw water intake, and sink out in the bathroom. And then she has a holding tank and a macerator. And I don't know exactly what this is there for yet. And yes, it looks like she has 2 raw water intakes. Interesting, right? But this one is actually for an air conditioning. She has an AC unit. And that's the sink in the kitchen. Alright, let's step on board. So there's a big storage underneath here. We are in the process of putting the winter covers back on. Engine instrument panel right here. Then there is one storage here, and underneath it here's a big double berth. Nice traveler. She comes with a Bimini and a Dodger, which of neither one is in good shape and needs to be rebuilt. But the frame is there. The deck layout is generous. She's got 4 opening ports, 2 hatches here, plus main companionway hatch. Side stays are in good shape. She has a keel step mast, which is nice, and a ginormous anchor locker with windlass. It doesn't seem to work right now, and a big Harkin roller furling unit. So there's the anchor. The rigging appears to be in good shape. She also has a radar. Lines go back to the cockpit. Didn't find any soft spots. I put the battens for the mainsail here on deck. She has a fully battened mainsail and a really nice companionway entrance. self-tailing winches on deck and on the sides for the Genoa. 2 water tanks plus a holding tank, again with macerator, and her diesel tank is also pretty good size. I think 27 gallon. Yeah, so we cleaned out, all the upholstery is back home. The boat is empty right now. Hasn't been cleaned for a while. But she is spacious, man. That's a spacious boat. A nice U-shaped galley with a freezer refrigerator combo, very deep. A pantry, ginormous. A gimbal stove, 2 burner. Oh, there we go. Two burner with an oven there, and the entire unit is gimbaled, and I believe this is not propane but natural gas. So nav station, I got the share removed, all the upholstery is out. Here's a big double berth and a couch, and there's even an insert for the middle here that makes for an even bigger, almost like queen size bed or bigger. Hanging locker in the back, 2 ventilation ports into the cockpit. Instrument panel is original, so it will require some work, I assume. There's been a little upgrade to the 110. She got radar and electronics on there, and there's a big charger inverter right here. Ample storage everywhere. I mean, it's insane how much space there is everywhere. Wild. Drawers over drawers. This here collapses to make a nice sea berth, a single berth of decent size actually. Has a little drawer underneath here with some nice detail, and that's a diesel tank. I assume she might have some diesel buck going on in there, so we'll polish the fuel would be the idea. Then there's a water heater. There is the valve for the overboard pump macerator. There is the pre-filter pumps, and then the actual holding tank for the bathroom is here. Yeah, that is a spacious boat. You got plenty of storage everywhere. Nice and deep. Side stays tie into the lower hull. This one, that's a bulkhead, looks very good. Bathroom is ginormous. Head with a sit-down shower there in the corner. That all in a 36-foot boat. Impressive. Very spacious V-berth cabin with an extra door up front. There's also here like plenty of storage everywhere. Huge hanging locker. Really, that thing is ginormous. That is oversized. More storage. Big forward hatch. Big V-berth space. A lot of space underneath the V-berth. The ducts that we see there, I believe, have to do with the air conditioning unit. The AC is built in here. Luma port lights throughout the entire boat. She needs some work. A few of them are definitely tied up by now, so I have to see if I can get some replacement parts. And we have a cracked window, and the windows are crazed, the ones that don't open. So that is definitely a project. Here we have an extra ventilation hatch in the middle. This one is very good. It's also watertight, no issues here. The forward one appears to have a leak, so we'll have to look into that. And yeah, again, ample storage throughout the entire boat. I am 6 foot tall, with shoes maybe 6'1", and I have no problem standing upright here. I have plenty of headroom everywhere. I'd say headroom in this boat all the way forward is probably somewhere around 6'3", 6'4". It's very generous. It's a very spacious boat. I can see why the Catalina 36 is so popular. Despite her little issue with the Catalina Smile and the keel, it seems to be a great boat. Great cruising sailboat anyways. Maybe not necessarily your blue water cruiser, passage maker, although people have done it too on a boat like this. It can be done. In Europe she is rated CEA, which means that is offshore. Yeah, but I believe designed and intended more like a spacious coastal cruiser. However, she can take probably some open water in moderate conditions. By the way, one more thing about the Catalina 36 is the engine access. This vessel here has a universal M25 XP, so it's basically the Kubota D950. It's a marinized 3-cylinder diesel with 23 horsepower, and engine access is extremely good. Let me show you real quick. It takes the cover off. Granted, it's a bit of an act to take the box off, so I installed an overflow container for the coolant. It's a freshwater cooled 2-cycle cooling system, basically with an inner cooling cycle with coolant like in your car, and then there's a heat exchanger and a raw water pump, right? It pumps up seawater. The strainer for that can be accessed through here. There is the main raw water intake. All through how seacocks have ball valves, the way it should be, and they're also grounded. Even the prop shaft is grounded and has a metal tab on it, which is really nice. So we just winterize the engine, suck some coolant in, good up to -50°C, and yeah, oil change and all of that is done. And up front here is the intake and the pump for the for the air conditioning unit. So there's actually a drawer going into that hole here, pretty good sized drawer, this one. Yeah, so engine access on this Catalina 36 is very, very good, I think. They did a good job placing the engine here. I like that. One more thing that I would like to point out is the hull to deck joint. It is disguised here by, oh boy, chaos, this little mahogany or teak, no, it's mahogany, I think, this little rail here. And if I am not mistaken, it looks to me actually like a shoebox joint, which is overlapping. I can show you that from the outside here in a moment. Makes probably a little bit more sense if you see it from that perspective. And that is obviously one of the most leak-proof joints. Ways to do it instead of an inward flange and such, but it cannot really take that much lateral force on it like, I don't know, any other hull-to-deck joint, whether it's an outward flange or inward flange or even raised tow rail with T-cap on top, which would be ideal. The shoebox joint is nice because it's probably the most leak-proof idea of all of them, but also kind of the weakest, unfortunately. So what's your take on that? Because as you can see here, there is the rub rail. That is kind of where it's bolted together. So yeah, that looks very much like a shoebox hull-to-deck joint. And that on a 36-foot yacht. That is crazy. I know that from smaller boats, but on a 36-footer, that's I haven't seen that yet. Interesting. Yeah, leave a comment if you like what you think about that. Maybe I got it wrong or something, but yeah, as a matter of fact, you can see that's all out of one mold, the deck, and then the hull-to-deck joint is underneath this little rub rail here, disguised by that aluminum and rubber rub rail. And now the interesting question would be in what intervals it is through bolted with machine bolts, hopefully not just wood screws. That would be terrible. But from what I have read so far online, there are, well, let's see if I can get underneath here somewhere in the V-berth. But if I'm not mistaken, there are actually a couple of machine boards that come through every couple of inches. Alright, let's see if I can shine a light on this. Yeah, there's one coming through. There's another. Well, let's see. Intervals are pretty far apart. A couple of inches at least. I have to do more research on that. Yeah, again, leave a comment if you know more about it. I would love to hear something about it. The bulkhead placement also appears to be not bonded to the hull, so they are floating, which is another reason why that isn't, most likely isn't the ideal blue water boat. So if one would be taken across an ocean, some bonding to the hull, bulkheads to the hull somehow would be probably not a bad idea. Although they are kind of tapped here to the liner. So that's not too bad. That seems to be pretty rugged. Yeah. Yeah, they put that against the inner liner basically. Huh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, same here. Maybe I have a better shot of the hull-to-deck joint from... No, I don't. They really put that... Yeah, they put that teak rail all the way across. Darn it. It makes it difficult to see, for sure. Yeah, same like here. Almost impossible to get underneath. How about here? Oh, aft cabin. Yes. Let's try that. Ta-ta-ta. Aha. Well, that looks different now. That is coming not from the side, it's actually coming from above. Now the question is, might that be a rail? A rub rail? Could be. That might not be the actual joint, but if it is, then that is clear evidence of me being wrong, because it comes top to bottom. So it's a bit of a Rubik's Cube. Maybe not a shoebox joint then, huh? Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Again, if you would please leave a comment, that'd be fantastic, because I'm a little discombobulated here right now. Yeah, that is, I don't know if you guys can see that, but they are coming straight down. Maybe there's a rail on top of it. Let's check. Maybe that's why. Oh yeah, there is. Okay, let's see what's going on. So it's not the hull to deck joint, it's still a shoebox joint. Okay, we're closing in. That is actually just an adjustable sliding rail for your cleats. When all other kinds of cars that one would like to put onto this. Yep, not the hull to deck joint. Interesting. So here it is very clear, it is actually a shoebox style hull to deck joint, as you can see here. Aluminum rub rail with a rubber inlet that disguises the actual joint. And how many machine screws are going through and what well, how far apart, I don't know. Yeah, that's super interesting. Yeah, that's clear. Shoebox style hull to deck joint on a 36-foot sloop. Wild. Let me know what you guys think. Would you take her offshore, a little further away? You know, allow her to make a passage? Or would that be too risky? What's your comfort zone? I would personally think I would have some reservations. Oh, here we are bumping into the first issue. Oh, that's why I have a bug screen in. Okay. It came with bug screens that can go into the port lights. However, they're a little bit finicky to get in and out. Here we go. Disaster. This port light here needs to be repaired also. It's not leaking, but it doesn't look good. Yeah, so here's also a privacy door. I can even stand upright in the forward cabin, that's insane. So it also closes. It's a little bit off, I assume, because the boat is sitting on the hard right now. Needs to relax, so hopefully that goes away and fits just perfectly once she's back in the water. Yep, there you have it. That is our next project, Catalina 36. I'm excited. Mark 1, and she is from 1987. You know what? Let's have a look at her specifications real quick, that we know what this boat could technically do, because now I kind of sparked here this idea of going maybe blue water on her, which I personally wouldn't, you know, don't have the guts for it. But let me know what you think after you have looked into the specifications and performance calculations. As you can see here, the Catalina 36 Mark 1 is sloop rigged, beautiful clean lines. It's a fin keel spade rudder masthead sloop, so the foresail goes all the way up to the mast top. made from fiberglass with lead keel. It has been bolted against the keel stub, the fiberglass keel stub. And she was made by Catalina Yachts in the United States and designed by Frank Butler himself. And they started that production run in 1982, and she stayed in production until 1994 and was then replaced by the Mark II. They made 1,766, so super successful. And here are the specifications of the boat. As you can see, the sail area is a little shy of 550, and then the beam is pretty wide at almost 12 feet. So she's quite beamy, good creature comforts. That might be one of the reasons why she's so popular. People like that boat. Displacement comes in right at 13,500 pounds, and the ballast is 6,000 pounds with a standard fin keel, and she's almost 6 feet deep. There was also a shoal draft available with a different rig, but let's save that for later. We get back to that here in a moment. So that brings us to such performance data here to the right. The sail area to displacement under 16, so certainly not over canvassed. Ballast displacement at 44 makes her relatively stiff. So if you like a boat that sails upright, that might be your boat here. Displacement to length at 218 is relatively, not light, it's appropriate. Let's say it's an appropriate ballast to displacement, displacement to length for a coastal cruiser. The comfort ratio, therefore, at 24. Capsize screening formula right at 2. Under 2 would be good. That is considered self-righting, so she's right at the brink here. And her sail number 2.36 with a high speed of 7.37. And it takes about 1,290 pounds roughly to bring her down an inch. She was offered with a universal diesel, a 3-cylinder with 21 to 23 horsepower, depending on RPMs. And that's actually, like I mentioned before, Kubota blocks a 950D. Some tanks are 25 gallons, others are 27, and there was a little bit of variation throughout the production run. And there's a baffle in the middle, so if you ever cut inspection ports into the tank, be aware of that baffle right in the middle. You need 2 access ports, in my opinion. Water tank, several, between 2 and 3 tank versions here. She can carry 72 gallons. And because we were running back and forth here in the boat, I want to clean it up for you real quick. So that huge aft cabin comes at the expense of cockpit locker storage, but the aft cabin is huge. So we got this one bunk in there, which is about a full size, and that allows you to lay stern to bow, bow to stern, and then there's this little couch arrangement next to the hanging locker, and there's an insert for that too, so it makes it almost queen size or wider even, I think, and then you would place yourself, I guess, port to starboard, vice versa. It's spacious. It's a huge aft cabin. As you come out into the salon area again, you stumble into the navigation station to starboard with a huge chart table, electrical panel right there, and a nice captain's chair. Across that is a U-shaped galley, and it has a little stowaway towards the cockpit, which is perfect for a little microwave or a little grill oven or something. And right next to it is the ice box, very well insulated, super large and deep. And next to the gimbal stove, across that the huge pantry that we touched on, and next to that the double sink and plenty of drawer space underneath. Also plenty of space behind the icebox and the gimbal stove. There's so much space for plates and everything. It's unreal. Moving forward, U-shape settee. That is the only kind of thing that I don't like so much about the Mark I. They improved in the Mark II to an L shape, where the table is folding down from the bulkhead and it's more stable. This arrangement is a little bit wobbly, but they improved that throughout the production run also. So basically against the galley, you can see here again the fuel tanks, the diesel tank there next to it, the water heater, and then the filter. The filter and pump are easy accessible through the portside settee here. That's super nice for maintenance to change filters and such, as good as the engine access, and then the holding tank against the forward bulkhead. Vis-a-vis that little chest table arrangement settee underneath the batteries, and that also collapses and makes for a really nice sea berth, which would place you exactly midship. And then we're moving forward. In front of that would be here an air conditioning unit, normally a drawer unit with several drawers, and behind that a very, very deep hanging locker. Across that is the head. The head is huge with that sit-in shower, fantastic. It feels really open, not cramped at all. It's a really nice head compartment. And then there's also a privacy door that allows you to close the levers. So it makes also for an extra cabin standing headroom in there too. Again, I'm 6'2" with shoes on, maybe 6'1", and I didn't bump my head anywhere. So it's very spacious. The V-berth itself is also huge. There's no it doesn't feel cramped. You can easily sleep there with two adults, no problem. So I hope that cleans it up a little bit for the interior layout. And then again, we touched on that briefly before. She was also available with a wing keel and a taller rig. So it changes the draft to 4.43, and then they put heavier ballast on it with 6,600 pounds. That brings the total displacement to 14,100 pounds. The sail area is more. They added basically 55 square foot of sail to it, so it brings the total up to over 600. There you have it. Yeah, as we're here in Minnesota, it's time to winterize the boat. I really just recently, well, I should say we just recently got her and took the covers off to unwrap the present to see what we actually purchased. And now it's time to winterize her and put the cover back on and everything. And unfortunately to put her away until next year, which is really sad in a way, because I'm excited about this. Very excited. Well, before we wrap it quite literally for today's episode, as I promised you in the beginning of the video, we'll dive a little bit deeper into the famous Catalina Smile. Not this one here, unfortunately, more like that one here. Not quite as nice, and indication of a major structural problem that gets worse and worse over time. So what is it actually, and how can we repair it properly? Imagine as the boat and the keel are exposed to quite significant lateral forces over the years, potentially even hard groundings. That water makes its way within between the keel stub and the keel itself, and eventually goes up the keel boards and starts to compromise the plywood core in the bilge. As the plywood core is now compromised by water, it sponges up and becomes soft, and the boat starts to drop its keel slowly, which usually starts at the leading edge here with some hairline cracking, and then becomes progressively worse to an extent where it might become a real structural concern. The boat could technically drop its keel, which would be absolutely disastrous. Now, granted, it might take a while until it becomes really that critical, but I believe we don't want to be around for that if it actually happens. One probate way of repairing this properly would have been to drop the entire keel, inspect the keel boards for galvanic corrosion, especially in that area that has been disguised by the plywood core, and if found serviceable, put everything back together. However, you might imagine that that is not a small job and should be carried out by professionals, by a boatyard that has abilities to do something like that, and it might very well exceed the total value of the vessel by far. Now, Catalina Yachts offers a worksheet here that suggests a slightly different method by which the boat will be basically set on its keel. About 70% of the way it should be suspended on the keel, like you would have that in a boatyard when you have it on the hard. And then you start working that out by removing some of the boards, removing the ply layer, digging that out. That should also give you some access to the keel boards underneath to see what condition they're in. And if you found serviceable, you will start cleaning that out properly and relaminating the stub up with solid fiberglass, woven mat, and epoxy resin. And that half by half, I would assume, and as you progress further, you basically finish up by painting the bilge and then putting washers and nuts back on and retorquing the whole thing to specs. I think that is a doable method. I would imagine that one could hopefully accomplish in a DIY project. The good news is that Catalina Yachts at some point realized that it wasn't a very good idea to use plywood as a core material in such a critical area that is always exposed to water, like the gear stop. So they stopped doing that somewhere around 87, 88, 89, depending on what model. And the Catalina 36, rumor has it, past hull number 883 to possibly 886, should not have plywood in the bilge anymore. So if you look for these boats, you might want to consider a later model. Or if not, at least it gives you a good bargaining chip to get the boat maybe a little bit cheaper if it's still in good shape and it's an earlier model and you're willing to deal with it. Well, that one line runs kind of in a weird way. I think that should go through that block back and not across the hatch and everything. Yeah, so it will take some work to get her back to ship shape. Huh. We'll see. Time to put the covers back on. So for our last verdict, is she a classic or a clunker? I'd say definitely more classic. She's a really good old boat, and if you find one of the earlier models that still have that plywood problem there, and let's say you find one where it isn't too bad yet, and the price is right and comes with lots of equipment and boat is in the right place, I'd say definitely yes. She will give you years and years of fun and cruising, joy and adventures. And if you find one of the later ones, then all of that isn't that much of an issue anyways, and that boat can really take you places. I believe she's well capable of passages in controlled weather windows, let's say out to the Bahamas or something. I wouldn't be too concerned about it. I would definitely take the boat there. It is capable of doing so. So yeah, if you find one in the right place, right condition, right equipment and right price, I'd say pull the trigger. Lots of bang for your buck. As always guys, thanks for watching and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers!